Good morning and welcome. I'm Jane Morgan, Investor and Media Relations Manager for Resolution Minerals. Today, I'm pleased to provide an update about a major company development, the acquisition of the Horse Heaven Gold Antimony project in Idaho, USA. Today, I'm joined by Craig Lindsay, who is leading the development of this exciting new exploration project. Good morning, Craig.
Good morning, Jane. How are you? Nice to be with you today.
Absolutely. And Craig, look, this is a transformational moment for Resolution. So, can you give us a little brief overview of the announcement and what this acquisition actually means for the company?
Sure. Well, as your listeners may know, Resolution has been taking some steps in Australia to increase its exposure to both precious metals, gold in particular, and antimony. And an opportunity has presented itself to the company to acquire this project in Idaho called Horse Heaven. It's an exciting project for Resolution, and it's got a ton of blue sky for shareholders of the company because it's a past producer of gold, it's a past producer of antimony, it's a past producer of tungsten. Just as importantly, it's immediately adjacent to something called the Stibnite mine, which is operated by Perpetua Resources. Perpetua is a $1.7 billion market cap company listed on NASDAQ. And the Stibnite mine is going to become scheduled to become the United States' largest open pit gold mine at 450,000 ounces of gold a year. And it's also going to produce about 35% plus or minus of the United States antimony requirements. And our project is immediately adjacent to it. Right sitting between us is a significant intrusion. And on either side of that intrusion, on the east side is the Stibnite mine, on the west side is our project. And people often refer to something like this as closeology. And what's interesting is our head chief of exploration, Bill Breen, says, "No, Craig, this is not closeology, it's exactology," meaning that our geology is exactly the same as what they've got over at Stibnite. Another thing I should mention is that this project has about a 300,000 ounce historic gold resource out there. I mentioned that it is produced historically antimony in both the First World War and the Second World War. And this was small scale production, Jane. This was literally hand cob stuff that was put onto rail cars, shipped off site, and processed off site. But where there's smoke, there's fire. Secondly, getting into the 50s, 60s, and 70s, that again produced in small scale tungsten, again, a little open pit operations. Much of that tungsten material was actually processed at the Stibnite mine next door. And later on, there was actually a tungsten mill that was produced and produced up until the 70s. What's interesting is when drilling was done at Horse Heaven, they only drilled for shallow open pit oxide heap leachable material from a gold perspective. And they never assayed, even though it produced historically antimony and tungsten, they never assayed for those two elements. So one of the exciting things of the drilling that we're going to be doing this year is we will be assaying for antimony and tungsten. And again, we really hope to be able to establish not only a significant gold resource, but also demonstrate that there are economic deposits of both antimony and tungsten out there.
Well, I think in fact, Perpetua actually went to all-time highs at $1.9 billion market cap. So we're in good company there, I think. Look,
Yeah, we absolutely are. And one of the neat things about having a mine like that next door, they're actually building a high voltage power line right across our project, number one, from Cascade, Idaho, over to the Stibnite mine. So that's going to enhance the viability of future development operations at Horse Heaven. And secondly, they're building a new access road into the stibnite mine, which comes right along the southern end of our project. Again, adding some significant infrastructure development for our shareholders at no cost to us.
And I think let's just talk about antimony now. So it has been labeled a critical mineral in many jurisdictions. So how is this shaping Resolution's investment case?
Well, from a U.S. perspective, and antimony and tungsten are both critical defense metals. They have applications in renewable energy as well, but the big focus is really on the defense applications for this metal. And as your listeners will know, China has cut off China has produced kind of 80% of the world's antimony. They've cut off supplies to the US, and the US isn't producing does not have any domestic supplies. As a result of that, the US government has put in some legislation to fast track the development of critical metals and domestic supplies of critical metals in the United States, which is significantly benefiting companies like ours. In fact, just recently, as part of this big, beautiful bill that they refer to in the United States, President Trump has added another $2.5 billion in funding for the development of critical metals. And what's interesting is you are seeing companies like Resolution receiving, or projects like Horse Heaven and Resolution receiving Department of Defense grants that are used to fund early stage exploration. In the old days, they were just looking to fund near-term production, and now it's such a big issue for them. They are focusing right up and down the supply chain. So that's a great thing. And your readers will also know that NATO is getting up, everyone's up to that 2% of GDP and spending on defense. And a lot of countries are talking about moving to 5%. Even with various spending cuts in the United States, one area the United States is not reducing their expenditure, but expanding is in the area of defense. So the demand for these kind of products that we are exploring for at Horse Heaven are not going away. So we are in a very good space there. Just as importantly, this part of the United States, so we're in the state of Idaho. It's a very favorable mining jurisdiction. I've been in Idaho, been working there for many years. And when I first got into Idaho, probably 15 years ago, I would probably spend 50% of a presentation pointing out where Idaho is on a map and explaining to people about what's going on in Idaho. Now, everyone from a North American perspective knows the state. So you've got high-grade silver mines up in what we call the Panhandle, very significant open cast phosphate mines in the southeastern portion of the states. Base metals have always been big in Idaho, in particular molybdenum, copper, and there's many gold projects that are being developed, everything from early stage exploration up to projects such as stibnite, which are actually going into production. And it's a range of things from open pit to also underground mining. So lots of things are happening in Idaho. The governor of Idaho just put in something called the SPEED Act in January, and the SPEED Act is focused on fast tracking large development projects in the state and trying to encourage both local, state, and federal agencies to communicate more effectively, to move permitting along at a faster clip. So all of these things are positive for what we're doing at Horse Heaven.
So Perpetua's stibnite mine, of course, is the largest antimony project in the US. Horse Heaven has about a 70% footprint similar to the stibnite mine. Let's maybe walk into the program of work and what we've got to look forward to from an exploration and drilling program.
Sure. Well, just I wanted to respond to the first comment that you made. So we've got about 699 federal lode mining claims on U.S. Forest Service land. So we've got about 57, 58 square kilometers of project size located on federal lands that are subject to a 2% NSR to an underlying property owner. Uh, so I just the U.S. Forest Service is our permitting authority, and we'll be receiving a permit to drill off of 59 drill holes off of about 20 drill sites. And we should have that permit in June. We plan to start drilling 1st of August, plus or minus. And the program would be about a 6,000-meter drill program, about 20 holes. We're looking at a combination of core holes and reverse circulation holes. This is a structurally controlled deposit, and we don't have any of the historic core out there. So probably about 25% of the drilling, or 5 holes, will be core holes, and the remainder will be reverse circulation holes. Historically, we're going to be targeting something called the Golden Gate Fault Zone. And that area is subject, there's a historic resource out there, or historic resources out there of approximately 300,000 ounces of gold. What's interesting is when this was drilled historically, they only drilled down the longest hole was 500 feet. So about 150 meters, call it. And they would just drill down to the oxide sulfide boundary, and then they would stop drilling because they were only looking for open pit heap leachable material, which was a big focus in the Western US. It still is. What we're going to be doing this year is 300-meter holes, so kind of 1,000 foot or 300-meter holes that'll drill right down into the sulfide material. And secondly, we're going to be assaying for both antimony and tungsten in addition to in addition to gold. So we're going to have a good, strong flow of drill results coming out through the fall, number one. Number two, we want to do some metallurgical testing. I mentioned that this did produce historically tungsten, and there's some tungsten dumps out on the project that we want to do some met work on. They've never done any work on that historically, so we want to do some modern met work on that. We'll do some column leach work on the gold recoveries out there, and on a parallel basis, there's a second target called Antimony Ridge, and we'll be doing some ground-based field work out there to better define targets for a future drilling program. And then finally, we will be out doing an updated permit that will allow us to build some new drill roads and have an expanded drilling footprint to really grow this deposit on the heels of what we hope are some successful drill results this fall.
Well, ready to hit the ground running. And of course, the team's actually out there now. So lots of news flow to come for shareholders. Craig, can you also just walk us through the key deal terms?
Sure. Well, we've got about little over 500 million shares outstanding in resolution today. 440 million shares are being issued to the vendors of the Horse Heaven project, which include myself as a shareholder. And then there is an upfront payment of $600,000. And then 9 months on closing, and another $400,000 cash in 9 months. So it's a good, clean deal, and that's for 100% interest in the project. So RML will have 100% control over the future destiny of this project. And I think probably just as importantly, whenever I get involved in any of these things, and Jane, just so you are fully aware, my background's in corporate finance, investment banking. I'm the guy that takes projects, put it together with capital and people. And the only time I've ever had success in this industry is with good people. And I'm really blessed because I'm going to be working with a guy named Bill Breen, who's got an intimate knowledge of this project. He's been with it from day one. Bill's a longtime geologist. All his career has been focused on the Western US. He's got an encyclopedic knowledge of the project. He's got a very good relationship with the US Forest Service, and he's also got a great relationship with our neighbors at Stibnite, which is very positive. Alan Roberts is the second guy who's going to be, he's a master's in science. He's a geologist, focused his career almost entirely in the Western US. And not only is he a good field geologist, he's a great operational guy. And when you're in the Western US, some of the drilling conditions can be difficult. Logistics can be a bit of a Mensa problem. He's very, very good with that sort of stuff. We've also got another fellow geologist who's actually spent 10 years at Perpetua. So he's got a great understanding of the specific geology. And then finally, it's a guy that I've worked with before on another project that I developed in Idaho called the Kilgore Project. His name's Eric Klepfer, and he's a consultant to us, but he's handling all of our exploration permitting activities. And it's very important when you're working in the US, and it's this kind of a motherhood statement, I guess, but you want to work with local folks, and all of these guys are Idaho or Wyoming based, so they're locals. They talk the talk, and they walk the walk with the locals, and that means a lot. So we want to be spending all of our exploration dollars with local service providers, and we're very, very committed to that concept. And that's, that's helped me a lot working in Idaho in the past.
Absolutely. Just just to reiterate, why should investors take a serious look at RML right now?
I think if you like gold, we've got a 300,000 ounce gold project that has the potential to become a multi-million ounce project very quickly. Number two, antimony is trading at all-time highs, and we've got a past producing antimony and tungsten operation. So if you believe in those two metals, this is something you want to be involved in. I guess finally, you're investing alongside a company that's almost got a market cap of $2 billion that's going to be building the largest gold mine in the United States and the largest producer of antimony. And so we're in an amazingly good neighborhood with excellent infrastructure. And you've got some, I won't say anything about myself, but I can tell you the folks that I work with are top shelf folks.
Well, Craig, thank you so much for joining me. Exciting times ahead, so looking forward to future updates.
Jane, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking the time to visit with me today.